Hey there, everybody. This is our all-staff introduction. We wish that we could obviously be meeting in person, but we can't do that because of COVID-19. So we're going to do this kind of virtually and do this a bit different. We're kind of going to go through a lot of the things that you guys need to know before we get things off and rolling. The information that we are giving today is as of Monday. So obviously you guys will be getting this later in the week. So if things change, we'll let you know by email. But this is the plan as of Monday, and hopefully it stays the same come Thursday and Friday. So we're going to go through, we'll introduce our exec team. We're just a few of the members of our exec team. My name is Tyler Brummett. I'm the news director of NewsLink Indiana. I'm a senior here at Ball State. In addition to being the news director, I'm also an anchor and reporter here. So if you guys ever need anything, let me know.
I am Annie Keister. I'm the assistant news director, along with NewsLink. Tyler and I anchor Waking Up with Cardinal Weather, our sister show that you should also look into.
Absolutely.
I'm a junior, and I'm really looking forward to meet all of you guys, hopefully soon in person.
I'm Brittany Dobbins, and I am the managing editor of NewsLink, and I am a senior. I'm also a reporter and anchor, so if you guys have any questions, I'm the person to go to when you have questions about reporting.
And as Brittany said, we're here to help. We're here to help you guys out in any way that you need. Please don't feel intimidated. In the past, I know new members specifically have felt intimidated by the exec team for one reason or another. We are here to help. So I think that's a big thing. One thing also that I do want to point out, please, especially if you're new, make sure to watch all the training videos that we put in the email along with the link to this video. They'll be very helpful. If you are a returning member, this all-staff meeting is going to be different than ones that we've had in the past from the standpoint we have a lot more information to give out. So please watch it through, and if you have questions, feel free to email us, text us, whatever, and we'll be sure to answer those questions for you. Now, as far as some of our other exec members, Gabe Pro is our chief weather forecaster, so if you're in the weather department, you'll be dealing with him a lot. Nathan Gidley is our assistant chief weather forecaster. The two of them, they're in charge of the weather department. They assign weather talent as well as kind of help the weather forecasters design their forecasts, working with the different softwares and whatnot, WSI and all of our weather computers. So if you guys have any questions about weather, please feel free to reach out to them. Sports team, you guys will report to Blake Dollier. He is our sports director, as well as our assistant sports director, Joey Moore. They're both kind of in charge of producing the nightly sports segments and helping out all sports anchors and reporters as well. And then looking at our digital team, so this semester and potentially going forward, our digital team will be different. We used to have a web team and a social team. One was in charge of the website, the other more in charge of social media, but this semester it's all one team. Emily Harless is in charge of that as our digital content manager, and then our assistant digital content manager is Logan Salzburner, so they'll be getting in contact with those of you guys who are a part of our digital team with more information on what exactly you guys do. And then for our production team, so anything that involves our control room and a lot of our behind the scenes stuff, Amelia Talar, she is in charge of that. She is our head production manager. And then her assistant is Lindsay Kendall. Basically, they're in charge of running our board during the show, running our cameras, stuff of that nature. They will give you more information as far as, you know, different pieces of equipment and stuff of that nature. And then our amazing faculty advisors, Susie Smith, she is awesome. Terry Heifetz, he's awesome. Tim Underhill, awesome. And then of course, Lisa Renzi Rhodes. So Susie, Terry, and Tim, they're more in charge of NewsLink. They'll come in from time to time. They might help out as well as like kind of give their feedback on your stories. Please take everything they say and learn from it. They all have experience in this field. I know both Terry and Susie, they worked as producers. Tim was a photog and still is. And then Lisa, she is in charge of every organization in Ball State Unified Media. So she is in charge of NewsLink. She also works with the DN, Fight, Ball Bearings, Waking Up with Cardinal Weather. Any organization that uses this space, she is in charge of. She's also kind of our UML mom. So if you guys have any questions about the newsroom and anything of that nature, please reach out to her. Like I said, she is in charge of how Ball State, or how the UML is operating right now, especially during the time of COVID. So if you have questions about anything with the studio or the newsroom, please let her know. Did I miss anything so far? I don't think so.
Good.
So our producers this semester, Brittany, she will be producing on Mondays. As of now, Annie Kieser will be producing on Tuesdays, Emily Harless on Wednesdays, and then Lindsay Kendall on Thursdays. You might be asking, what exactly is a producer? We will talk more about the different positions. In fact, I think that's the next slide that we are going to. Annie's going to kind of talk a little more about the positions. Myself and Brittany will kind of give some advice as well. But Annie, looks like our first position is reporter.
Okay, so we have a couple different positions you can do at NewsLink Indiana. It all depends on where your talents are and what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and start off with reporting. Arguably, one of the most, there's no newscast without the news. Each individual piece in a newscast has its own objectives and roles. Reporting specifically, you're going to be finding, writing, and producing original content. Our audience is not just Ball State. I know when people first get here, they do a lot on campus, which is totally fine. As you get used to being here, you're going to branch out and go into Muncie and Delaware County. Sometimes big things happen down in Indianapolis. So you're definitely going to learn how to find your way around Muncie being a reporter. You will report every other week. We're going to have, is it Red Week?
Yep, we're doing Red Week and White Week. So we'll talk a little more about this, but if you're an anchor, you will report on your off weeks, because you anchor one week, report the opposite week. We'll dive a little more into that in a second.
And regardless, you will be reporting every other week, whether you anchor or not. As a reporter, you are responsible to come up with story ideas, and that's where Brittany is going to be really important. If you're fumbling, trying to find a story idea, or you can't find a focus of your story, you're going to want to talk to Brittany, and Brittany's going to have all the connections you need. You can ask her who you should talk to for your story. Communication is key between a reporter and producer. It is your story, but your story is also a part of a big newscast. So your producer may have a certain idea they want to help you with their story. So you'll notice that you're in contact with your producer from the very start of your day up until the show is over. Your deadline is 8:30 p.m. the night of the newscast. The newscast starts at 9 p.m. It's really important that you shoot for that 8:30 deadline, because equipment can crash at any time. Something could be wrong. So it's really important that you try to have that in by 8:30 p.m. And you will write a web story. That's probably something we'll get into a little bit later. You're going to have to be flexible. News is always changing, and this is not just about going on TV. This is journalism. I know a lot of people see reporting on TV. It looks glamorous. Like people, that's how everyone describes it to you, and all my freshmen, all staffs. It is not fun sometimes, to be honest. You are alone with heavy equipment. Every other week, your sources will cancel on you an hour before you're supposed to meet with them. It can be really frustrating. So reporting can be a really hard test on your patience and your grit, whether you're going to actually have a story by the end of the day. And our goal here is to not pressure you with giving you a strike or things like that. We're here to help you. Don't panic. The most important thing to remember is that you will have something by the end of the day. It may not be what you planned or what we planned, but we're going to do our best to help you find some way to get some story on air by the end of the day.
And one thing I will say, go ahead, sorry, Brett.
This is like a learning environment, so we want to make sure that you guys actually learn and stuff. So the most important thing is getting your hands on and just getting that experience. And we've all been in your shoes before, so we know what it's like to report and have people cancel on you and things fall through. So we're here to help. Just keep communication with us and everything will be fine.
And I think one thing that's important, even though we're in leadership positions, we're still going to be out reporting too. The three of us, we're still planning to go out, get stories. trust me, I understand that sometimes getting a story together is, to be quite frank, it can be hell. But honestly, we're here to help. It's, this is the learning environment. This is the place to make mistakes. If you mess up, it's okay. Because odds are every single mistake can be fixed. And we're here to help out with all of that and to make sure that, you guys have the tools to be able to succeed. There will be days that are harder than others, like Annie and Brittany said, but we are here to help. The one thing I will put an emphasis on is that 8:30 deadline. If you're here in the newsroom, you are expected to meet that 8:30 deadline. I will talk a little more about remote work a bit later in the presentation because obviously with COVID, we understand that some people might not feel comfortable coming into the newsroom. But if you are doing remote work, your deadline will be 8 o'clock because if you are working remotely, you will have to send your stuff into us, and that could take a lot longer for us to get sent over to the show and whatnot, and it can be a pain. So again, if you have any questions about this, please let us know, because we know that it's a lot to throw at you, especially if you are a first-time reporter, but we have all been there, and we are here to help. Do you guys have anything to add with the reporting?
If you are a reporter and this didn't help you at all, you're confused on like what your job is, if you need to know where the start line is, all the steps you need to take, don't hesitate to text me or Britt or Tyler, or we can Zoom, or you can come in the newsroom, do whatever, and we can sit down with you and say, okay, here's your first step, here's your next step, and we can help you through all that. Or if you need to shadow, or if you need help on your first day, and that goes for any of the positions we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, and Annie kind of mentioned this. We do have a strike system in place, but it is not our goal to give you a strike. If anything, we want to have 0 strikes this semester. And as long as we can see that you care and that you're putting in the effort, odds are you won't get a strike. Previous exec teams have literally said, oh, if you don't get something on air, you get a strike. That's not going to be the case with us. We'll kind of evaluate on a case-by-case basis and see, because if you go out and you pitch like 1 million stories and your sources are just falling through left and right, that stuff happens. We've all been there. I have had stories that have fallen through before. Annie and Brittany, they both had stories that have fallen through. We will work with you, but we do want you to put in the effort and to do the best you can. And as long as you do that, I think, honestly, everything will be fine. So, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. The next position, anchor. You want to go through that a little more?
So if you've already auditioned for an anchor position, you will be expected to be in the newsroom at 6:30 p.m. You will write a tease, which if this is your first time being an anchor, you may need a little bit of help with. And it's really not a huge deal. You'll just come in and write a tease. We record it up here in front of the desk and put it on Facebook for your moms to share because they'll love it. And you'll be expected to do a Facebook Live, whether that's sitting at the back here at the computers, or maybe you're already up here at the desk, whatever you want to do. You have some free reign here. You do need to get in here and read through your stories. You don't want to be cold reading. Absolutely not. Your first time anchoring, you don't want to be cold reading.
So let's explain cold reading just a little bit. 'Cause
Okay,
I don't know if they know that or not.
As soon as you get in here, you should open up iNews, open up the show. If you need help, we can show you how to get there, and you should read through all your stories with your names. This is very important. If your name is on a story and you don't like that story, talk to your producer. Do not change anything in that script in regards to names. However, if you're reading a story, maybe you don't like the wording, you can change the wording of stories, but I would ask for help with your producer first, just to say things the way you would say them, not to change the story itself, and do not change your name on a story, please.
And that's really important. If I can just take 2 seconds and kind of elaborate on that even more, I speak one way, Annie speaks one way, Brittany speaks one way. Brittany's from Chicago, so we know that she speaks differently. But obviously, I might have a certain speaking style that they don't have, and odds are, I always tell whoever's producing shows that I anchor, I always say, please don't get offended if I completely rewrite the story, because odds are we all speak differently. If I write a story for one of them, they'll probably be like, oh, this is not how I would say it at all. So please, if you change a story, just make sure that you don't change the meaning of it, but change, the way that it's phrased, because if you write it the way that you would say it, it's going to come across more natural, and it will be more pleasant for viewers to watch. And, one thing with anchoring, and we'll talk more about this when we're giving critiques and stuff like that, just be yourself. Obviously there are a lot of serious stories that we will have, whether it be, coronavirus related or politics and stuff like that. Please do not give your political opinion necessarily, but with those serious stories, you might have to be more of like the stern anchor person. But we'll have more lighthearted stories, whether it be a puppy getting rescued from a tree or something like that. Feel free to show your personality.
So workflow of an anchor: get in here on time, open up iNews, start reading your stories, ask your producer if you have any questions, write your teas, record your teas, Facebook Live. You'll be up here at the desk half an hour before the show starts, and we'll start doing run-throughs, and hopefully that'll help you feel a little bit more comfortable. And you will be reporting. If you anchor, you report. You do not anchor without reporting.
Yeah,
Ever.
and if you don't report, there is an opportunity. We have somebody behind the camera waving at us. Yeah, it's Rudy. Shout out to Rudy. But if you are anchoring and not reporting, odds are you'll be taken off the desk. Obviously, from time to time, like, things happen. 1 strike won't get you taken off the desk, but 2 strikes, you'll probably be removed from the desk. So obviously, we'll talk more about that, and we'll handle these on a case-by-case basis.
One more thing about anchoring: if you don't understand the story at all, odds are the story doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that's just another eye for the producer, so it helps. So make sure that you are going through and not just skimming through, like actually taking the time to read all the words, because you don't want to look stupid on camera. So,
Yeah.
Save yourself and other people, just read through it and take the time out.
And one thing I will also say about anchors, even though they're not on exec, anchors are still expected to be newsroom leaders, both inside the newsroom and outside the newsroom. You're expected to help people out. If you're just coming in, going on air, trust me, we could find anyone to do that. Everyone could do that. They could just come in, go on air. You're expected to help write. You're expected to help reporters with packages and stuff of that nature. So please, be a newsroom leader. And then outside of the newsroom, what you post on social media, what you do outside of here is very important. And I think now more than ever, considering the fact that everyone has a phone. So please just be smart, especially if you're someone who's going to be on air. Even if you're not on air, still don't be stupid, don't do dumb stuff. Please, please, please make good decisions. Anything else with anchoring? All right. Producing.
Okay, so you already saw the list of our 4 producers, and I have seen a couple people sign up under producing on the Google Doc. You will start out as an AP, what we call an AP, and it's an associate producer. And basically you're just going to help the producers. Producers will show you how to put things in iNews. There's a lot of writing, so if you like writing, this is for you. And it's nothing on air. And you'll also float around, help. You're just an assistant producer pretty much. Float around and help reporters when needed, but your main goal when you come in to AP is to help the producer write stories. Producer's gonna teach you how to do all the technical stuff when it comes to putting things in iNews, and hopefully we'll get you to the point in a few weeks where we can switch in and out and you can produce a show on your own with just a little bit of assistance, and the next semester you may be the producer.
Yeah.
That is kind of the key goal, is to get you ready to start producing your own shows, quote unquote. It's not really your own, but just like you get to build the show yourself. And like, you can get help and everything, but that's kind of our goal for APs. But if you don't like it and you just want to test it out, don't be scared to test out everything, because that's what we're here for too.
Yeah, and if you find out like halfway through the semester, you're like, oh my gosh, I think I might want to try producing. Talk with us. Odds are, I know that both Annie and Brittany, they're going to be producing this semester. They'll want help writing stories. A producer is never going to complain about people coming in and helping write stories. So please, if you want to try producing, please try it. And out in the real world, producers are needed literally all the time. Every station at one point or another will have a producer opening, and most stations probably honestly have one right now. So please try producing. And also, if you're someone who knows like, hey, I want to be an MMJ, you should still try producing because it'll make you a better reporter. And if you're a producer at some point, you should try reporting because it'll make you a better producer. So knowing the ins and outs of the newsroom is something that's really important because no job is more important than another. But kind of like Annie mentioned, you know, the producer is the backbone of the newscast. You're kind of in charge of setting that rundown, making sure that, you know, things are ready to go for the show. You should communicate throughout the day with the exec. As news director, I'm not going to control what you put in your show. If you decide to lead with something and I think it's not the best lead, I might say something, but I'm not going to say you have to lead with this. Because at the end of the day, it's your decision where stories go, stuff of that nature. But please communicate, communicate, communicate. We are in the communication business, but sometimes communication for whatever reason doesn't happen, and that's not just in NewsLink, that's in the real world. So please just make sure you communicate. Producers will also help pitch story ideas. So say if I'm struggling to find a story idea and Annie's my producer, she might be like, hey, I saw this is going on, maybe you might want to try to dig into this. And again, producers will time the entire newscast and decide how long stories will be. So if I'm putting together a package and Brittany's my producer, I would want to be like, hey, Brittany, how much time do I have for this story? It's at the end of the day, it's her decision, but also there should be a dialogue at all times between producers and reporters. And again, if you are a reporter, please, please, please communicate with your producer. I know you talked a little bit about associate producers. Did we cover that completely, or is there anything else that you wanted to add to it?
Just talk to your producer on what time they want you in here. It all depends on who you're APing with. So, I mean, there's no really like set time to be in the newsroom. Just talk to your producer and they'll tell you when they want you in here.
Yeah, and
APing is a pretty low profile role at times. So like Tyler said, maybe you don't start APing, but if you want to come in just one night just to see how it works, it will not take a lot of your time. And there's really not much pressure on you, but it is an important skill to have. Even if you only come in a few times throughout the semester, it'll really make a difference for you as an anchor, reporter, anything.
yeah, and one thing with associate producing, in the past, I would say, and I know we've had this conversation, in a way associate producers have kind of been underutilized. We're going to try to change that this semester and find more ways to get associate producers ready to produce. We've had people who start the semester out as an associate producer, and then by the end, like say for example that Annie's got an AP and she's like, oh, this person is making a lot of progress. Who knows, she might give that associate producer more control of the show that she's producing, or even be like, hey, look, it's your call, you produce it. So there'll hopefully, if we're able to make it to the end of the semester, we'll try to give associate producers more opportunities to produce their own show and to really get involved. So yeah, and then call times are really important. Please, if you are for whatever reason going to be late, we understand life happens, let us know. If you know that there's scheduling conflict, please let your producer know. And I think that's one thing that I kind of want to reiterate a little more. Please communicate with your producer. You should not be coming straight to me or straight to Annie unless Annie's producing, or straight to Brittany unless Brittany is producing. Please go to the producer, because we have to follow chain of command. And odds are your producer will probably need to know more like quicker than I would need to know. So please, please, please communicate. But as Annie mentioned earlier, shows run from 9 to 9:30 Monday through Thursday. Obviously with the email that you got with this link in it, we also have the roster attached to that, so please review the roster, make sure that you understand how it works. If you have questions, please let us know. Reporters, here's the deal, we've kind of fluctuated with different times. We're going to ask that reporters have their stories confirmed by noon of the day you report. However, that should not be when you start looking for story ideas. If you start looking for story ideas the day you report, you're kind of screwed. You might not be, but it's going to make your life 10 times harder. You should at least have one, preferably multiple stories pitched to your producer by 10 p.m. the night before. I think that says 10 a.m., but we're going to pretend like it says 10 p.m. Please be in the newsroom by 5 p.m. at the latest unless you've discussed a conflict with your producer. We understand that you might still be out on a shoot. Sometimes you might cover something that's happening in the evening and it might be a quick turnaround. We understand, we're people, you can talk to us, so please just let us know if there's going to be some sort of scheduling conflict. Your broadcast story, as we mentioned earlier, is due no later than 8:30 p.m. If you don't make that 8:30 deadline, odds are your producer's going to be like, well, your story is not going to go in my show, and they will find something else to fill that time. Please make that deadline, because it's very important to make sure that your story gets on the air, because if you miss a slot, then you're impacting the producer, you're impacting the director, you're impacting everybody. So please do your part. If for whatever reason, if you don't think you're going to make it, or if you're falling behind, let your producer know, let someone know. Odds are one of us can jump in to help you out. Don't use us as a crutch necessarily, but again, we are here to help, and we can jump in to help you guys out if need be. If you choose to work remotely, your broadcast story must be done by 8 o'clock. The reason for that is because if you are editing and you send it to us at 8:30 like everyone else, we've got a million other things going on. That half hour before the show, for all intents and purposes, all hell breaks loose. So please have your story to us by 8 o'clock if you choose to work remotely. If for whatever reason you think that you might be up the creek without a paddle, please make necessary arrangements. If you're having issues at home and you chose to work remotely for whatever reason, if you feel comfortable coming into the newsroom, please try to, just so we can make sure that you make it and that you make slot. But if you don't feel comfortable coming into the newsroom, obviously we can have that conversation. And then your web story is going to be due no later than 10 p.m. However, there might be situations where you're running behind with your web story. Please just communicate with whoever the digital person is that night. They will help steer you in the right direction. Obviously, like if I do a live shot with my story, I might not have time to finish it before 10 p.m. So please, please, please just plan accordingly. And if you're going to be late with your web story, let the digital person know. Emily Harless will give more guidance about that throughout the semester as well. As far as anchors, please be in the newsroom by 6:30. As Annie and Brittany both mentioned, you don't want to cold read your stories. That'll give you plenty of time to look through stories, ask questions, and to kind of have time to prepare for the show. As we said, you're not just going to come in, walk up to the desk, and go on TV. That's not how it works. So please be in the newsroom by 6:30. And then APs and producers, that time is kind of a little more flexible. Try to get into the newsroom ASAP. Obviously, from producer to producer, it will vary. So please just communicate, if you're an associate producer, with your producer. And the earlier you start on the show, the better it will be. We've had producers come in at 6 p.m. and that is honestly a horrible idea. So please, if you're a producer, try to get in as soon as you can. Obviously, if you have classes, you can try to come in between classes, start stacking, maybe leave, go to class, come back. It's kind of up to you. Anything else about call times that you guys want to add?
I say maybe the latest for producers, 3.
Yeah.
That's probably the latest to get in here.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, in the real world, producers, they have about 6 to 7 hours leading up to the show that they have time to prep for. So if you're coming in just a few hours in, like a few hours before the show, you're going to struggle to put a show together. So please, please, please just be smart. Anything I missed? I think we're good. Okay, Brittany, I know we're going to talk about how to find story ideas because it's difficult, but also it's not as difficult as you might think.
Yeah, so story ideas are probably the biggest obstacle, I guess, to start out with reporting. So you want to just look around, look at billboards, look at, what are those things called over there?
Posters?
Poster, but like the big boards. I don't know, like poster boards, I guess. Like just look around campus and then like drive around Talk to people, like make connections. Like Tim Underhill's a really good connection to give you story ideas. You can ask Terry Heifetz too, he's pretty good with it. Like ask anybody, just ask around, but you have to start learning to, later on in the semester to learn how to find your story ideas. So a good idea is to add yourself into the Delaware County Community Awareness page. People talk about stuff all the time going around the neighborhood, and it's a good idea just to like get somewhere, like to start somewhere. So you can look at something and say like, is this really worth it? Is it not really worth it? You got to find your newsworthy justifiers, I don't know what they're called, but just use your own opinion and see what you think would be best and what's not. And like you said, producers will help you come up with your ideas too, and I'm here to help. But other things like check social media, listen to people in the hallways. People always are talking about stuff in the hallways that's going on that's crazy. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything. Just look at all of that and you'll find something, I'm sure. And if you don't, people are here to help.
Yeah, one thing I will add, kind of along with this, but also with Brittany's position in NewsLink, her position is new, and the one thing I want to emphasize, yes, Brittany is here to help reporters, but you should not just go to Brittany immediately and be like, hey, do you have a story idea for me? You need to do that research first, try to find a story idea. If you have any questions, obviously Brittany's here to help, but in the real world, you're not going to have Brittany, you're not going to have us, so please, do the best you can to try to come up with a story idea as your own. I'm not saying use Brittany as a last resort, because if you were using her as a last resort, then there would be no purpose in having this role. But our producers are probably our biggest department numbers-wise. We have more producers than any other, reporters are our biggest department. We have more reporters than any other position in NewsLink. So please, utilize Brittany, but also try to find these story ideas on your own. Brittany can also help you when it comes to molding that story idea.
Another thing for story ideas is watch the news and try to localize something that they did in the news, like coronavirus, how Ball State's handling it and stuff like that. So just branch out into other things and look for stories there. You can also look at monthly calendars. I know a big thing for freshmen is events, and we like them sometimes, and I know that's the kind of the go-to, but instead of just focusing on the event, focus on something that you can pull out of it that could be stretched a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Maybe you see a kid there and it's his first time being there at an event or something like that. So just kind of look for the little, not just the big overall picture of an event, but something little that you could pull out that no one else can see if they attended. So I think that's one of the things, if you want to do an event, go deeper instead of just the whole event itself that it's happening, because people are going to say, oh, we already missed it because it already happened. So.
Yeah, and if it's a yearly event and you say, well, they'll be back next year, I don't care.
Yeah.
Eventually, I might see promotions for it next year and maybe I'll go, but right. People are not going to care about something that already happened. So, and then also we're going to talk a little more about what is a story and how can you make your story good. If you want to take that.
Okay, so stories are literally everywhere. So whenever you're looking around, like I said, just look for it. And it's probably the littlest thing ever, and you can make it into a big thing. Breaking news. So you want to use caution with that, because sometimes it may happen, it may not happen. You don't want to bank on it. And just always have story ideas no matter what.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about breaking news, the reason why I say use caution is because you have to be careful. You have to use your news judgment. If you hear something coming from a police scanner, you can't report that, because you have to confirm that with police, and you have to talk with them and try to figure it out. So again, please use caution while covering breaking news, because we don't want to get ourselves in a situation where we're reporting something that's false. So please, please, please be smart with breaking news. Also, with a lot of our breaking news stories, we don't want to put our newer reporters on them immediately. Hopefully towards the end of the semester, if you are a new reporter, we can get you on a breaking news story, because honestly, they can both tell you, you kind of get your adrenaline going with those stories, but we always want to make sure that we're doing the best to cover these stories, and we don't want to set a new reporter up for failure by going to these stories. But if something's happening down the street and you see something, get video of it, because you don't know what it could be. I know whenever I go to breaking news, I always try to send a message out saying hey, anyone want to come with? And if you're available to come with, please, we want you to be with us, so then you can kind of see like how to operate at a breaking news scene, whether it's a shooting or a fire or whatever the case may be.
So for stories too, you want to find something, instead of just telling the story, you know, black and white, you want to find something that's a little bit like out of the ordinary, like a twist. And you want to save that twist for the middle of it. So it's like kind of leading up to it. So it's like what's that literature thing?
Oh, the climax?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so the literature.
You guys saw it in like
kinda,
second grade.
It's kind of like that. So you want to like build up to the climax and then like go from there and then like go like what they're going to do next or what's going to happen next with stuff. So kind of just follow that structure of it too. You know, don't overthink it either, because that's like the biggest thing that I do sometimes, and I spend way too much time overthinking. But you know, just find that little element that's different and unique that no one else will really think about or even saw, anything like that. But and also make sure that your stories are not a commercial, because that's free advertising and we're not funded at all. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else.
One thing I also want to emphasize is this point down here. Please avoid conflicts of interest, be transparent, and be ethical. As far as avoiding conflicts of interest, for example, if you're a part of Greek life, we do not have reporters who are part of Greek life cover Greek life related stories, because there is, obviously you're a part of it and you have a feeling one way or another. Big example of that, I remember my freshman year, the fraternities and sororities, they were put on a social pause by the university because of sexual assaults and a few other things that happened. When we covered that, anyone who was a part of Greek life was not even allowed to be on camera. So please, just be upfront and honest. If we ask you to cover something and there's a conflict of interest, let us know. We're not going to be upset. Be transparent. So, for example, if you interview someone that you have a connection to, you have to disclose that on air. Odds are that should be a last resort as far as interviewing someone who has a connection with you. The most prominent example of that I know for NewsLink, one of our old exec members, our old assistant news director, he was a member of SGA and he was the student body vice president. So every time that we interviewed him for a story, we had to mention on air, Cameron de Blasio has direct connections to NewsLink. He served as our assistant news director from this time to this time and was also an anchor and reporter. It kind of just showed the viewer like, hey, yes, there's this connection, but we're going to be honest and share that with you. And be ethical. As far as news ethics, you guys will learn that in a lot of your classes if you haven't already. And again, a lot of the stuff that we're asking you to do, it's very possible that you haven't learned it yet in your classes. So, and we know that, and we're going to, be helpful with that. But please, if you have questions, ask us. If you're like, oh, I don't know if this is okay to do, just come to us. We'll tell you yes or no. If it's like a split-second thing, odds are the answer should be no. You should play it safe rather than, putting something out there that is unethical and whatnot.
Also, don't be scared to be creative with your stories. Like, get the unusual shots. Like,
absolutely.
Get anything like that that's super colorful, because you want to make it visually pleasing, because that's what TV is for. And yeah, just don't be scared. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot what it was. Oh my god.
Yeah, as Brittany mentioned, this is TV. There are different elements that you can use, whether it's nap pops or really cool video and stuff like that. Just try to do the best you can with that. Obviously, there are some stories that are boring to watch. Just find a way to add some pizzazz to it and to make it look better. If you need help with that, we'll help you out. Don't
be scared to try like anything new, like a live shot or a stand-up or a look live. Like we'll help you with those too, because it'll give you so much more experience. And I only started just doing look lives literally in my internship. So, I mean, we'll help you out with anything, and just practice makes perfect, especially with live shots.
This is the place to mess up.
Yep.
You messing up here, we'll just move on from it.
Mm-hmm.
No harm, no foul. If you mess up in the real world, depending on what the mistake is, it could cost you your job, unfortunately. So again, we're here to help you out, and I've made every single mistake in the book. Odds are you'll make multiple mistakes, and we'll give critiques after every show, and we'll move from there, and a mistake is not the end of the world. We don't want people having nervous breakdowns and, feeling like, oh, it's the end of the world, or, oh, I'm never going to find a job. That's not the case. You'll all find jobs. Everyone will be fine. Anything else that we want to add to this? So this is really important too. I don't know if you want to talk about this, Brittany or Amy.
So you want to have like good etiquette when you're reaching out to people and sources. You want to say your name, who you're with NewsLink Indiana, and you're working on a story about this and that. And you want to be really nice. You want to be really considerate too of their time and your time. You want to have good communication with them as well, and make sure that you are representing you are always representing NewsLink, especially with this stuff. And you don't want us to make us look bad, or the whole organization as a whole to look bad. Because you're also representing Ball State. And
most importantly, you're representing yourself.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah. So these sources are going to be connections to later stories, and even if it's a big story, you want to do a follow up later. So never burn bridges with any of your sources, no matter what. Like, you really don't. That's like a really big key in everything with all of this, because news is really most about connections. You're not going to know anything if you don't have any connections. So, and just make sure you set yourself up for it too. Like, go do the research. Make sure you have everything before you get to the interview. Make sure all your equipment works too, because that's another thing that always, kind of another obstacle to get over if nothing works when you get there, and then it starts to look bad again. So, just always prepare. Always, you can never prepare enough for it, honestly.
One tip, don't lie, but I wouldn't come straight out and say, I'm from NewsLink, Indiana at Ball State University, because as soon as you say you are a student, they tune you out.
Right.
If they ask, of course, say, oh yeah, but typically it's just, hi, my name's Annie Keister, I'm with NewsLink, Indiana. I was wondering if I could meet with you sometime today to talk about blah.
Yeah.
So
also mention that the interview is on camera too.
Always
Right.
say it's on camera when you ask them, because if you don't and you show up with a camera, they may say, oh, I'm not comfortable going on camera. Well, now you've wasted 5 hours of your day.
Yeah.
So make sure it's on camera.
One thing I also will mention is, when I say I'm a reporter with NewsLink Indiana, I might also mention kind of what NewsLink is. Like, you don't have to give like a whole paragraph about it. I'll just be like, hi, my name is Tyler Brummett. I'm reaching out from NewsLink Indiana, which is a newscast that airs in Delaware County, or I say a television newscast that's airing in Delaware County. Wanted to see if you would be available for an interview about this at this time, yada, yada, yada. So just be professional. We do hold you guys to a professional standard as far as reaching out to people. If you burn bridges for us or burn bridges for anyone else, not just in NewsLink, but in Ball State Unified Media as a whole, we're not going to be happy. And obviously, some of your sources, when they do find out that you're a student journalist, they're going to understand. They know that you're learning, but also whatever you do, just do it confidently. Pretend like, even if it's your first time reporting, pretend like you've been there before. So,
It also
else about
helps
that?
if you say, could I meet you at this time? It'll only take a few minutes. If you just say, can I meet you today? It's so easy for them to be like, oh, sorry, I can't today. And then you're going to be doing that call over and over again for the next hour. So just say, are you available at 4 o'clock today? It should take 15 minutes or less.
Yeah, and you're gonna get told no by people. It happens, but
And don't
be
let that get you
persistent.
down.
Yeah.
Because if you stop there, then you really have to push yourself for this, and it's gonna be really hard. But we're here to help. And another thing is, make sure you thank your source for the time too, because they took time out of their day to help you with this. So always make sure that you appreciate them for doing the interview.
Make sure you tell them when they're going to air,
Yes.
what time, where they can find it. They'll tag their friends. Then
Yeah.
they end up following us, and
Yep.
then we get news story ideas
Right.
from that. So
Yeah.
Another thing is just sending the link to our Facebook page over email or whichever way that you communicated with them. That also gets us more traction too. So just be nice, just be a person, be human, be kind. So
Yeah. And that kind of leads into newsroom etiquette. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about how COVID-19 will impact what we're going to do. Hopefully, we haven't lost you guys too much just yet. We know that we're talking about a lot here and throwing a lot at you. Please, it's going to be okay. But in the newsroom, just don't be a jerk. That's kind of my message with all of this. Be polite, be respectful, be willing to help, always do your best. This last one, I kind of want to talk about this. We've all seen where people have gotten in trouble for stuff that they say. Please, please, please be smart. Those who know me know that I cuss a lot. However, I don't cuss when I come in to the studio, because for all you know, we could be streaming live on Facebook right now. So please just be smart. we're not going to be like, oh, you gotta watch your language. You know, from time to time, you might yell out the F-bomb because you're getting frustrated. It's okay, but please just, you know, try to be smart. Don't come up here and say really bad things, because for all you know, these mics could be on. We had an incident once where someone revealed some very private information about his medical history, and that was not a good situation. So, and there was a control room full of people, and it was not something he wanted people to know. That's your own fault for doing that. So please.
At the bare minimum, once you're past this line, nothing even remotely inappropriate or bad words. So
also, when you're at the desk, just always think that your mic is hot. Don't say anything about anybody. Just keep your mouth shut and just read the script.
Yeah, a good recent example of someone saying something dumb on a hot mic, Tom Brenneman used a homophobic slur. Please don't say bad things. Don't say racist and homophobic stuff. Just be smart.
But also,
just in general.
Especially here.
Yeah.
But if you ever have issues with someone, please let us know, and we will figure out the best course of action. But you know, we're all adults. Let's act like adults. Let's be smart. Just don't do anything over the top stupid. So here's the nitty-gritty of COVID-19. Obviously, this semester things are different. We're masking up. We're social distancing. Before I get too far into this, I want to make it clear, when we're on the air, you guys don't necessarily have to wear masks if you're sitting at the desk. The only reason why we're wearing masks is because we can't exactly social distance right now. So please, if you have any questions about COVID-19 and how we're operating, feel free to ask us. We know that this is new for all of us. It's a learning environment. Please be kind and cut each other some slack, but also we all need to be smart to do our part to make sure that we're able to do shows this semester. So as far as with NewsLink Indiana here in the newsroom, we're going to follow all Ball State guidelines, government guidelines, and Ball State Unified Media guidelines. Why? Because we have to, and also we don't want to spread COVID-19. We've had several cases, obviously, thus far here on Ball State's campus. If you are sick, simply just stay home. But here in the newsroom, if you don't know the exact layout of the newsroom just yet because you're a new student, we will show you, obviously, and whatnot. But if you have questions, again, please ask. But you must enter through the doors by the elevator. So if you see our studio here, they're literally the doors just right around the corner. And then as soon as you get in, first thing you do, no ands, ifs, or buts before you say hi to any of us. Please sign in with your name, date, and time. There's a big, I don't know what that's called, an easel or whatever. It's like one of those like art pad type thingies. Please sign in with your name, date, and the time. The reason for that is for contact tracing. So if someone in Ball State Unified Media gets it and you were in the newsroom at the same time, you will be contacted. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to quarantine for 2 weeks or stuff like that. It basically means, hey, there was someone in the newsroom. They won't tell you who it is, but you will know. Basically, it's up to you to use your best judgment. You know, if that's the case, please just watch your symptoms. If you do have symptoms, don't come in, get tested, all that stuff. But again, we don't want you to think, oh, because one person gets it, that you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, because that is not the case. As soon as you sign in, the next thing you do not touch anything. You have to go over to the kitchenette, which is all the way on the other side of the newsroom. You can't see it here. Go over there, wash your hands, use CDC guidelines, you know, the happy birthday twice, all of that fun stuff. And again, please do not touch anything. In the newsroom, masks and social distancing are required. If you are a returning student, you will notice that there are several changes in the newsroom. Desks are spread out further apart. The middle computer in each pod is not there, so we do have less computers. That's part of the reason why we'll be saying, hey, if you want to work remotely, you are more than welcome to. All equipment has to be wiped down before and after use. There are wipes at the area that was formerly known as the iDesk. Please go there, grab a wipe. Also sanitize your hands, wipe down the computer. You're free to use it. Please, again, be smart. Try not to touch your face and stuff of that nature. But again, please wipe it, and then as soon as you're done and you're like, okay, it's time for me to leave, wipe down all that stuff again, because we want to do the best we can to not spread COVID-19. And then as far as leaving, so you enter through the doors by the elevator, you then have to exit through those doors down there. One thing, even though this is not required, I would also recommend washing your hands right before you leave, because it's just sanitary and a good thing to do. One thing I do want to emphasize with mask wearing and social distancing, we're not going to be the mask police. However, if we need to get involved, we will. I don't want to, be that person that's like getting on top of people for not social distancing and stuff like that. But if you are being negligent, we do have to get involved, because it's a safety issue at that point. So please, again, just be smart, wear your mask, use social distancing and stuff like that. One thing with being in the newsroom, this first thing, I'll be honest with you, I hate it, because I enjoy coming in here and just hanging out, sometimes laying on the floor, joking around, laughing, all that stuff. But this is a semester where we should only come in here if we're working on something. Those who know me know I like to spend all darn day in here, and literally half the time I'll get distracted just chilling, talking with someone and stuff like that. But we really need people to only come in here if you are working, because the more people we have in here, the higher chances we have of getting COVID-19. And considering the fact that our exec team naturally is going to be in here a lot because we work in here, if one of us gets knocked out, odds are the whole exec team could get knocked out. So please just be smart. Like I said, remote work is encouraged for returning reporters. In the past, I've been big on using Avid, using the NX5s. Obviously, this semester things are different. I am willing to adjust with that. So if you want to use Premiere, go ahead and use Premiere, but please, like we said earlier, give yourself the time to send the stuff over to us for us to take care of. And then for all
You will have to use Avid eventually for your classes. So if it's one of those things where maybe you've had symptoms or you're quarantined from being exposed or whatever, I'm pretty sure they still have Premiere in your dorms. I don't know if you're allowed to use them, or maybe you have it on your own laptop, which is also great. Your deadline's still 8 p.m. Do work on slowly learning Avid. Do watch the videos.
Yeah, please.
Do attempt it. But, if you are going to be stuck alone trying to navigate something and you're comfortable with Premiere, then that's basically our purpose of this.
The one thing I will say also with Avid, they offer a free version online. I know Tim mentioned that in the Avid training video, which you guys will hopefully watch soon. It's like one of the videos after this one. But I know that there's a free version of Avid if you do prefer Avid.
And make sure if you do use Premiere to export it the correct way, using the correct dimensions and ratios and all that. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I know Annie has done that a few times when she's had to work remote in semesters past when she's field editing. She's a good source to help out with as far as exporting from Premiere. Honestly, I don't even remember exactly how to do it. So please just plan, be smart, and we'll be okay. If for whatever reason, if you can't report because of COVID-19, just let us know and we will adjust. If you are a new reporter, first of all, welcome to NewsLink. You're going to have fun, hopefully. Please try to come in to the newsroom if you feel comfortable. Obviously, I know if you don't feel comfortable, I don't want you to come in here and feel that, just feel like you're about to get sick and stuff like that. I don't want anyone to think that they're at risk. So if you don't feel comfortable, please just let me know and we will adjust accordingly. But newer reporters, I do want you guys to try to come into the newsroom, because then we can work on Avid and stuff like that, and we can be more hands-on, but not exactly hands-on because we have to still keep social distancing and stuff like that. But being here in the newsroom will help you out, even if you're not necessarily reporting. I know for me personally, just getting those mental reps. So please just be smart with all of that. Anything else about newsroom etiquette? Because I think either studio or control room is next. Studio. So things are going to be a bit different. Obviously right here is our anchor desk. Anchors will be at the desk, but they will be social distance. So we've got one chair on each side. Yes, it might look a bit ridiculous, but stations across the country right now are making their anchors social distance. Some people are even working from home. Weather at all times will remain at the chroma key wall. How exactly that will look, it's kind of up to the producers. We'll kind of play with a few things. We might try like a 3-shot with the desk and the chroma key wall in it where the anchors can banter with the weather person. We'll kind of try to figure that out. Sports, we're kind of still trying to figure that out. We might put sports either at Cam 5 in the newsroom, or we might even try to put them at the chroma key wall, potentially. We're still trying to figure that out. We will provide more information. And as I said earlier, if you're at the desk and on air, you are allowed to remove your mask. Please keep social distancing and be smart about it. Like I said, we're keeping our masks on for now because we're not exactly 6 feet apart. So please just be smart with that. You can remove your mask. I'll talk a little more about this later, but if you're in the field, it's kind of up to your discretion and to use your common sense. As far as adjustments in the control room, I think this is kind of the area where the biggest changes are happening. Only 4 people are allowed to be in the control room at one time. In semesters past, the whole exec team would be in there. We would have a lot of people on production in there. Sometimes our faculty advisors would be in there. Sometimes reporters would come back there. And in the past, we've had issues with too many people in the control room. And we've had people being too loud to where the director can't hear. I guess the silver lining in this helps out with that. Only the director, producer, camera operator, and teleprompter operator will be allowed in there. We won't even be in there unless one of us is producing. So please, please, please only go into the control room if you have to. I know it's kind of cool to, as a reporter to go in there and watch your package and whatnot, but this is not the semester to do that. So again, we're only keeping 4 people in the control room. Obviously, if something has to change, we'll update you guys on these guidelines. There are plastic dividers that are separating the 4 people in the control room. Please try to stay in those dividers. It looks like a big shower house in there, to be quite honest. We've got shower curtains separating people. And kind of like with the newsroom, all equipment has to be wiped down and sanitized before and after use. So the director's board, the teleprompter control thingy, whatever it's called, the computer for the producer, the computer for the director, everything has to be wiped down. Please wipe the stuff down. If you can't find wipes, let us know and we will handle that accordingly. There's a lot more. As far as adjustments in the equipment room, the one thing I want to emphasize is that we've got equipment obviously in the equipment room. That's what makes it an equipment room, but it's going to be for breaking news only. Okay? We will talk a little more about Unified Media Services in a second, but we only want that equipment being used for breaking news. Most of the time, like we said, you'll check out from Unified Media Services. Once again, wash your hands before going in there. That is the utmost importance. Mask must be worn at all times. Everything you plan on touching should be wiped down before you touch it and after you touch it. And then you must also wipe down equipment when you return. And here's the big thing. As far as checking stuff out, you have to have approval, either from me or Annie or Brittany. We can kind of talk about that and figure out if it's necessary. We will also be consulting with Lisa to figure out if you should check out from here in UML or in Unified Media Services. So the big thing with this, please plan accordingly. That is probably the most important thing with all of this. As far as UMS checkout, it used to be you could just go in, check stuff out, no big deal. This semester, that is not the case. Unified Media Services is on the first floor of Ball Communication. If you can't find it, ask us. We typically walk students down from time to time to show them. Go in there, you would ask what you need to do, but that's obviously not the case this semester. They will have a list with your name on it, yada, yada, yada. This semester, and potentially as long as we have COVID, It's going to be by appointment only. You must make the reservation at least 24 hours in advance. So if you know you're going to be reporting on a day, please make that reservation. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, you can check stuff out. So those 3 days you can check things out. The UMS says to have Monday reserves in by 4 p.m. on Friday. So again, if you know you're a Monday reporter, please pick yours up by the end of the day Friday. If you don't get equipment, well, then we'll kind of just go from there. Tuesday and Thursday, those are the return days. You must wait outside the door of DC 185, and we've got more information in the email. The UMS checkout procedures will be in that email. Anything else you guys want to add as far as equipment? Okay, now adjustments in the field. Those working in the field must adhere to all university guidelines, in addition to the guidelines of the place that you're going. So if I'm doing a story inside of, I don't know, Walmart, which you would probably not do a story inside of Walmart, you must adhere to their guidelines as well.
Just always bring a mask right now.
Exactly. Have a mask with you at all times. You must also, this is a big change from semesters past, you must also track the places that you go to for NewsLink Indiana. So if you go to one place, you must have record of the time and when you went to there. We have a thing in iNews that we just made a few days ago with everyone's name on it, and you will basically put in where you went and stuff like that. We will show you guys how to do that every day that you report. We'll kind of just show you how exactly to do that so that you know where it is. But the biggest thing, I think, is this point down here. Please use your best judgment. Please be smart. If you don't feel comfortable going to a place, please get out. We don't want you guys to put your health at risk.
And safety.
Yeah.
Safety first.
And that, even without COVID, that is our biggest priority. You know, if you feel like you're unsafe in an area, get the hell out of there. Reporting for NewsLink is not worth your safety. It's not worth your life. I know, and you guys experience this, I'm sure, too, during your internships. Sometimes you might get in sketchy situations. It's not worth it. So please, make safety a priority. Anything else that you guys want to add about COVID-19 that I might have missed? So as far as important information, as you guys can tell, all of the training is attached with the roster email. In semesters past, we have had a full week just dedicated to training. We would have super party, auditions, and then that whole next week would be dedicated to training. However, we're not doing that this semester. Unfortunately, we can't just do Zoom training because you guys don't have access to iNews and Avid outside of here. So our amazing faculty advisors, Tim Underhill and Terry Heifetz, both recorded videos. Please watch them. If you're a returning member, please take time to refresh yourself on what exactly is in Avid and iNews, and you want to remind yourself how exactly these programs work. If you're new, please watch them, rewatch them, go back and watch them through. The cool part about this is throughout the semester, you'll even be able to go back and refer to those videos and be like, oh, well, this is what I do to do this effect on Avid and stuff like that. But we understand that this might be a bit more difficult for you guys to pick up on as far as the programs. We will help you guys with Avid and iNews. Because those programs sometimes can be a pain, but we are here to help you guys out with that. So that means this coming Monday, September 7th, shows will start. It will be a red week. And then the week after, it'll be a white week. So we alternate in a red week, white week schedule. So 1 week is red week, 1 week is white week, then red, then white, and so on and so forth. If you have questions about the schedule, please reach out to us, and we will kind of clarify it, because we know, especially when you're starting out, it might be a bit confusing. So, yeah, and I think that's it. Anything else? Any parting words?
If you have any questions on anything, and you don't want to message the whole group me, just get a hold of us. They have our contact, right?
It will be in the email.
Okay.
So please feel free to text us, call us. If we don't have your number yet, if you're new, please just be like, hey, this is so-and-so. We'll know who you are. We obviously want to get to know you guys as more than just journalists. We want to get to know you guys as people as well. If this was not a semester full of COVID, I'd be like, hey, let's all hang out and whatnot and let's have a big party. But obviously, you know, we can't do that because of COVID. But again, if you guys need anything, just communicate with us. Communication is key, especially this semester. So again, thank you guys so much for committing to join NewsLink Indiana. We hope that it's a fun semester, even with these circumstances. And as we have said several times, please reach out if you need anything. We are always here for you, both personally, professionally, as well as academically. Please stay safe, and we look forward to shows getting started.